Meditating in the corner was weird. Akari had walked me through a few steps and then zoned out on her own. But I wasn't the type to meditate while sitting in a yoga pose. So I didn't bother trying. Instead I slowly shifted my arms, feeling the differences as I waved them around quietly. Just processing. It was funny, I had so much knowledge in my head from such a vast array of topics, yet none of them could really help me with this. I had tried some of the martial arts I had gained from Street Brawler, and it helped. But it wasn't a panacea. Only time could truly help. Well, that or more stat points. I had a bet that adaptation would help quite a bit. But that was for the future. I still needed to grow at least comfortable enough that I was able to gain those points. My accuracy was still off, my balance, everything. It might seem odd, but it was true. While training my quick draw the night before, I realized that slightly different length arms, fingers that were longer but stronger, and the phantom limb, meant my gun was ending up pointed in the wrong spot. I was forcing myself to untrain habits I had developed. So here I was, faking meditation as I ran through some of the Tai Chi kata with my arms, just letting myself adapt. Hopefully. Sitting here doing nothing did have some benefits though. Sensei wasn't just helping Akari and I. While apparently most of the dojo's students were sent away, either too busy with the war, or simply not trusted enough to know that the dojo was in use, that didn't mean there weren't others. I got to watch Borgs fight each other. The kamikaze group were more than the dozen Borgs I had seen so far. As they came in, usually in small groups, I got to watch them relax around the dojo, spar, or in some cases sit by themselves as they glared or zoned out. Cyberpsycho. Almost all of them had some of the symptoms. Irritability, blankness, some twitched or shook. It was interesting to see. I could see some of the same traits that June had picked up. But at least he wasn't as bad as most of them. He also wasn't nearly as chromed out as most of them were. But that wasn't what all of them did. Some would meet in the middle of the dojo floor and spar. Considering the amount of chrome involved, it was nothing like a fight between humans. So I watched. I learned. I noticed the ones with internal weapons, or augments. I watched how they used them, when, and what else they had. That guy and his mantis blades. He would always twist his wrist before the blades deployed. A twitch, or part of the mechanism. That woman with the same blade legs as Akari. Seeing it from the side, I could see the way she had to shift her balance forward. Too far forward. Her legs were powerful but had little surface friction to work with. So she was either fully charging forward, or forced to stand up practically straight to keep upright. I guess that explains why Akari learned to fight on her hands. But seeing it from the outside? It meant next time I had ideas of how to fight against that. Well, mostly. Whenever a Sandavistan or some of the other speed enhancers came into play. Fine. When fighting Borgs, Rule 1. Never let them realize they were in a fight. Until I had a Sandy in order to keep up, I just wouldn't fight them. Couldn't fight them. My boya would still be with me, but if I was in a maelstrom den killing Borgs, then the moment I fired game over I would have to run, or die. So I would assassinate them. I nodded to myself. Decision made. Fall back on what I am good at. So I would need to go quiet. And be better at it. Problem was, a blade wasn't always good enough against Borgs, but I wasn't the only person with that same problem. Now I needed more information. Lucky for me, I was literally in a place for it. I rose up and started looking for my former sparring partner. I wasn't the only person with that same problem. "Hey Akari?" I asked, finally finding the woman that had left an hour into her meditation downstairs in the break room, chomping down on something from the vending machines. "Huh? Kid. What do you want? I'm not here to play with you," she muttered, her voice still electronic as she continued eating. "You use blades, right? Mantis, and your legs. How do you kill a really borged up gonk? I mean, how do you get your blades through their armor?" "Stupid question, kid," she said, and suddenly her arm shifted into a blade that looked as deadly as I am sure it was. "These babies are made for cutting chaff. Nanofilament cuts right through, but sometimes it can get stuck. If I am against something a bit heavier, gotta use the upgrade." She laughed as her blade suddenly started glowing. A harsh wave of heat washed over my face as the blades ignited to an incredibly high temperature. "Stab these babies in, And not even fuckers with thermal resistance real skin will survive cooking from the inside. That's how you kill Borgs. Cut 'em, and if you can't, boil 'em. She broke into a pretty scary laugh. But I couldn't help but nod along. Know where I could get a thermal katana? I asked, and her laugh changed to a different tone. She wasn't laughing at her evil thoughts, she was just laughing at me. Rude. I'm not your mama. Get it yourself. She finally offered and waved me away. Fine. I continued practicing while I waited for June to come back. Unfortunately, every time Sensei would see me practicing, he would throw a shinai at me, or pull me into Tai Chi, or whatever other exercise he was doing. It was like he expected me to get into trouble the moment I was out of his sight or left unattended. Which, okay, teenager. Sure, I could understand it, but it was still annoying. That night June came home, and I couldn't help but let out a breath of relief. June-ni. I called out as I noticed him out of the corner of my eye coming in with a group of 4. All 4 of them had obviously seen a fight. Luckily it looked like only minor injuries, and it was a bit of a shock to see June in full war gear. He wore actual armor over his chest for one. June's tendency to show off his chest had been something I had planned on teasing him about in the coming days. But more interesting was the mask he wore. I guess I know for sure now why they called him the Oni. He wore a Japanese Oni mask across his jaw, giving him a sharp-toothed grin. At my call he slowed his walk and pulled down the mask, showing his face and how tired he looked. Seeing the rest of his little group all look to him, and none of them seemed happy, I just waved him off to go with his little team. We would talk after. The maelstrom broke as soon as we showed up. But they had enough heavy guns to keep us from doing much. We killed a few Borgs and dropped them off at the Rippers, and that's about it. He offered an hour or two later when he had finally come to find me. Apparently his little team had been doing an after-action report of some kind. I guess Tiger Claws knew at least a bit about keeping everything running, even when dealing with a bunch of gangster kids. What about you, Emoto? How was your day? How are the shoulders? Any pain? Be honest. Nope. No pain. I'm healing quick. I told him as I bit into my XXL burrito and did my best to pretend it didn't taste like refried sick. I don't know how June could seemingly happily take big bites of the meal. Good. Just don't go overboard, he demanded, pointing his burrito at me, which I almost wanted to parry away. What a powerful weapon. Anyway, June-ni, where did you get your katana? I'm looking to buy one. Probably a thermal one. I chirped at him suddenly, his chewing slows before he swallows his bite. No. I blew up my cheeks at him in offense at his instant denial. I'm not asking you to buy it or something. I have money. I just need to know where I can get one. Still no. You are staying here. Safe. He offered, and I glared a bit. I'm not going to stay here forever. Another few days I'll be back to fighting fit. Then I'm heading out. No. You can't just say no. I shrieked at him, pointing my burrito. No, he said, doing exactly what I told him he couldn't. I huffed at him as I took another bite and chewed it for a moment. I didn't want to fall into sibling spat here. June needed to understand that he couldn't huddle me into an apartment to hide away. June, I know you want to protect me, but I'm not going to live in this place. Once I'm healed up, I'm going to get hunting down the bastard. And the Spider Ripper. Once I have both of their skulls on sticks, I might chill, but that's the limit of my chill at the moment. Chill? He seemed to ask himself as he was working out what I mean. Still no. I stood up, slamming my hands on the table, which actually made a very sharp noise throughout the break room. We glared at each other for a minute. I'm not asking. If you won't help, I'll do it without you. I'm sure Hiromi can. Fuck. I cursed, my anger disappearing. I hadn't messaged Hiromi. It had been days. I had been completely out of contact. I instantly called her, only to get a noise in my ear and this call could not be completed. Message. Idiot. This whole place has a jammer up to make sure the maelstrom can't track us here. June cut in my rising panic as my yellow eyes zipped to him. Hiromi can wait. Oh, and damn it, Motoko. Stop. He rose up and yelled, but I was already heading up the stairs. I knew Hiromi pretty well by this point. We were best chums. If she heard that I had gotten kidnapped? If she couldn't get in touch with me or June, she might do something stupid. I rushed upstairs ignoring June as I ran to the entrance of the dojo and then out onto the street. Still no good. I turned and started running down the street. I could hear June running after me and he quickly tried to grab me but I slapped his hands away. We both had chrome hands now. Not now, June. Motoko. Stop being stupid. We aren't supposed to make calls from here. Then get your bike. Hiromi is an idiot, June. She will definitely do something stupid if I don't tell her I'm alive. Uck. June offered with a grunt as he realized I was right. And because of that he realized I wasn't going to stop. Fine. Come with me. Now. He barked and I followed after as we headed back into the dojo, and then into the apartment. We actually slipped back into the car that we had used to move everything and June drove us out into the city. Finally, a few blocks away as we passed through the city, June told me to try and call again. Motoko. Where have you been? My calls haven't connected. I breathed out a sigh of relief. Hiromi didn't sound like she was freaking out, or anything. Hey Hiromi. Sorry, a lot of stuff happened. I'm with June right now, but they're keeping him in a place that has jammers up. I realized it all happened without telling you. I was worried you would be freaking out with me out of contact. Oh good. You should always remember your bestest chum. How is June? He alright? Not injured? No. He is grumpy, but we actually went through a lot. Listen Hiromi. Don't go around the apartment, okay? June stopped by and Maelstrom tracked him. They decided to kidnap me and I ended up getting rescued. So stay away and see. What the fuck? What do you mean kidnapped? Are you alright? Motoko. You can't get kidnapped again. What the fuck? Fuck. Hey. I'm okay. Honest. The Strom did cut me up a bit but I'm all in one piece, and after the Tiger Claw Ripper that June took me to put me back together, I even went to Vix and had him double check. I'm fine. Motoko. If you had to go to a Ripper. You got chrome? How much? What happened? Just my arms. Nothing serious. Fuck. Motoko. Toko. Don't try to protect me, okay? We are chums. How bad? What happened? I sighed a bit as I rubbed my thumb and fingers together, feeling the odd sensations. It was pretty bad while it happened. They got lucky that I didn't have my anti-Borg weapon when they jumped me. They cut me up, and threw me into a fighting pit. I killed the kid they pit me against and they ended up chipping in some bad chrome arms. June rescued me around then, and took me to a Tiger Claw Ripper. I'm alright now. Honest. Shit. I didn't even know. I've been trapped at home this whole week. Damn it. Hiromi cursed for a while as I listened, just sighing, trying to ignore June's questioning look. Listen Hiromi. I'm glad you heard about this from me, and not from out in the wild. I was really worried you would have found out and gone off on a crusade to try and rescue me or something. Please just stay safe, okay? I've got June being super protective right now too. So I get the parents thing. Fuck. Toko, you got kidnapped again and I didn't even find out. Hiromi made a sound of just pure frustration over the line. I really didn't know what to say. I'm okay. I'm not. I'm glad you're okay though, Toko. Fuck that so. Uck. I know. But I'm glad you're safe too. I think June is getting done with being patient though. Listen, I'll be out of touch a bunch. Tiger Claws really like their jammers, but I won't be staying with June for long. Once I finish recovering I'll message you. Okay? Yeah, I get it. Stay safe, Toko. Promise? Of course. I promise. I ended the call and flopped back into the seat. Okay. Hiromi is okay, she didn't even know. I'm really glad she is safe. She's your chum. It's fine, June said as we started making our way back towards the dojo along the streets. I was quiet for a while before I decided to continue where we had left off. I won't stay at the dojo for long. You will. It is safe there, he said instantly, his fists gripping the steering wheel as he slowly drove through the traffic. June, I love you. I want you to be happy. I know that you just want to protect me. I love that. I do, but that's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do. I opened my mouth, my mind shooting to anything that I could use to convince him. A hard-headed teen like June, he wouldn't accept any answer but his. Unless I agreed with him, June would do everything he could to stop me. Well, if he could. I was strong. A lot stronger than he probably thought. "You don't think I can take care of myself?" I muttered aloud, realization flashing through me. "You are my little sister, you aren't going out to fight Maelstrom. It doesn't matter what jobs you've done for Wakako. Or anything else. You are not ready for that." "But you are?" I said the words without a thought. I knew what I would need to convince June, and there was only one way to reach it. "Yes. I have experience you lack. Advantages you do not have. Stay in the apartment where it is safe. I will handle your revenge. The trash that took you. They will die." "Yeah, they will. By me," I told him, instantly denying him his victory, but I was smiling. June was so sweet. Trying to keep his little sister safe, even willing to hunt down the Strom that hurt me. It was just too bad I was far from helpless. "When we get to the dojo, spar with me. If you beat me, I'll shut up and stay inside. For now," I offered as I stared out onto the road, just watching as these passed us by. I would have to prove to June that I wasn't just his kid sister anymore. It's just too bad I couldn't start off from stealth. It would make this a lot easier. June was quiet for a while as we pulled through a few dark alleyways to make sure no one was following before we traveled into the underground parking lot. "You are injured. I will not hurt you." "I'm fine. And if you want to keep me from leaving, then you are gonna have to," I told him as we pulled into the spot. "I'll meet you inside," I said simply as I slipped out of the car, ignoring him calling my name as I hurried inside, then out the window to the dojo. Inside it was just as active as it had been before, but I ignored that, instead focusing on what was coming. June was probably going to beat my ass. I honestly don't even know if he had a Sandy, or a reflex booster. But I was a gamer. If he beat me today, it would make me stronger for tomorrow. If he beat me tomorrow, it would make me stronger for the next day. June was being an ass, so even if he won, I was still going to leave him with some bruises. I grabbed one of the shinai off the racks along the edge of the room, nodding as it was in good condition. June was walking in then, looking towards me, and his perpetual grumpy frown was stronger than ever. But he seemed to realize I wasn't budging. He walked over across from me and grabbed his own shinai. The katana on his hip was taken off and placed against the wall. Our actions seemed to get some attention as Sensei noticed the two of us preparing. He looked from me to June before nodding. Without a word, he opened up the space in the dojo, pulling off the other Tiger Claw Borgs who were meditating, or doing Tai Chi under Sensei's instruction. Then once it was clear we both knew. Swordsman instinct maybe? Or just siblings knowing each other's tells. We moved, rushing towards the center without a word. June with his stupid long teenage boy arms was in range first, but parry was in full effect. June wasn't overwhelmingly fast like Hakari, but he was a lot stronger. My shinai easily caught his first strike, but actually deflecting it took a bit of effort. Then I was on the attack. He reacted instantly, shifting into his own deflections as my shinai became a blur of attacks, slashing, stabbing, sliding against his blade to try and smash into his stupid face. My attacks took him off guard, and instantly June was backpedaling as I pushed him. Despite his greater strength, he was treating my shinai as an actual blade. Good, he was taking this seriously. But as much as I pushed, nothing made it through. June was good. Then to my surprise, June locked his blade with mine, and in that moment he reached out and grabbed my dominant hand on my shinai. I noticed it. The shift in his balance. I had dealt with this exact situation again. I wasn't going to have my chest broken again. June's kick was blocked when I just leapt into the air and landed both of my feet against his leg, leaving me hanging in the air completely at his mercy. But at least he hadn't kicked me. June's grip on my fist hardened, and then he threw me to the side, launching me across the room. My instinctual reaction surprised me. I let go of the shinai, a part of me reminding myself there were tons of them around the room to grab, so instead his throw was turned into a tumble through the air, and then a few backflips as I hit the ground to create distance until I was at the wall. I nearly chuckled at June's flabbergasted look. His dropped jaw was literally making this entire thing worth it. "Ha. Bet you didn't know your little sister had athletics 5. I was at least a moderately good acrobat." But then I was done playing. I reached out and grabbed 2 shinai. The first blade's perk I had grabbed had been ambidextrous, and my arms were now much stronger than a normal girl my age. The feeling of my arms might not be perfect, but I was about to beat some big brother ass. I stomped back towards June, doing a few flourishes with my shinai to tell him that I wasn't playing at dual wielding. Then I was on him and June was once more backpedaling as I absolutely stormed into a series of attacks against him. My breath was still fairly even. June might have more chrome, but I was in better shape than my burrito-loving brother. The sharp snapping of faux bamboo on faux bamboo echoed through the room, as with two shinai I finally started slipping past June's defenses. My first blow slipped past and hit his shoulder, then another hitting his wrist, but it was all chrome, and he seemed to be growing really annoyed. I could see his eyebrows narrowing and his face turning into a scowl. He pushed me back and swung. I blocked but still ended up thrown off my feet at the blow as he put all of his strength into the swing. I rolled away and then jumped back to my feet, jumping right back at him. It quickly became obvious June had the strength to send me flying, but I was faster, and with two shinai, he was struggling to resist my flurry of blows. Once more June went for a grab, but I had literally taken a perk in grappling. His hand was grabbed as I discarded a shinai and then I was leaping, my leg arcing over his bicep, and suddenly my leg was wrapped around his neck. I tugged and unbalanced him. The two of us went tumbling as he dropped his shinai, with me so close it was easy to grab me. And then we were rolling on the ground, both of us grabbing at the other, rolling and grunting as we grabbed, forcing the other to release and grab each other again. June pinching my thigh to make me release his neck earned him a fist grinding into his side that was still meat, which made him flinch and break his grip on my other arm that he had been working into a pin. Then I grabbed his ankle, which was close by, and twister. While it wasn't flesh anymore, it would still hurt. I then yelped just as he found a pressure point in my side which earned him a knee to his stomach for his troubles, and then we were rolling around again. I managed to mash his face into the mat with the palm of my hand before he flipped me onto my back and an arm wrapped around my throat. Considering how much I knew about choking someone out like that, I wasn't hard to elbow just below his armpit, weakening the grip, even with a chrome arm. As I kicked up and flipped under his arm, my leg once again in place around his neck, but then suddenly I was pulled off him with a yelp as someone grabbed the back of my shirt and just lifted me out of the pile. "Oh hey sensei," I offered in greeting toward the very irritated man. "Both of you come with me. Now," he barked, making June twitch as much as I did as I was dropped back to my feet. We were put in timeout. Like literal timeout. Sensei set us down in a corner and made us meditate. Harry and some of the other Tiger Claws laughing on the sidelines at our sibling moment. "You weren't leaving," June said, the first words we had spoken since we had been put in timeout. We had just finished walking into the apartment hours later after being forced to meditate on our mistakes. "Not yet. But soon," I told him as I flopped onto the couch before facing him. "You didn't defeat me," he grumbled from the door. "You didn't defeat me either. The deal was if you beat me I would shut up and stay." "June, I know what I'm trying to do is dangerous. I know it sounds crazy. I know. But I can do it. I can do this and come home every night. I have the skill. You don't. You just got out of the hospital. You lost your memory." June practically ranted as he waved his arms above his head. "I've killed more than 20 people. Scavs. Raffen. Maelstrom. Normal and Borgs," I said, practically punching him in the face with what I have done. "You are my little sister. You don't have to kill anyone. I will do it for you. Stay here. Where it is safe. I'll put you into a school. I can even do Arasaka Academy. You can go to school with Hiromi where it is safe. Where you don't have to stain your hands with blood. Where you don't have to worry about." I stood up at his rant and pulled him into a strong hug, burying my face into his chest as I held him tight. "I love you too, June," I told him, cutting off whatever he was trying to desperately say. Then I pulled away so he could see me. "But I like killing. I'm not going to stop." I watched as he tried to process that for a moment, and as he opened his mouth I reached up and poked his lips. "No. Listen," I demanded as I stepped away and dragged him to the couch. I waited until he settled in as I sat on the little table so we could face each other. "I really like killing, fighting. I like doing jobs. I like sneaking through a Valentino chop shop to steal information. I like going out as a bodyguard for a nomad who ends up being a pretty cool guy. I liked when we got chased by Raffen. I liked grabbing my HMG and firing it, watching big tough Raffen scream in terror as they get turned into a splatter in the desert. I loved that after, when they left me for dead. When I chased them through the desert, and snuck into their camp. I have never had more fun in my life. Then when I was slowly hunting them through their camp, I killed every man in the camp without any of them managing to call for help or even cry out. I loved when I had their leader at my mercy at the end and I stole his car. And then I shot him. I was quiet at that, watching as June's eyes had widened massively as I spoke as I revealed just a bit of what I had been up to. How? He finally asked quietly, looking a little shook. How did you do that? How did you survive? You were never that good with a katana. I learned. I answered simply, it was true in a way. Killing someone is easy. The trick is just surviving long enough that you learn how to do it better. And a bit of luck. I added with a casual shrug. I know you worry. I worry about you too. But I can't stop you from going out there to hunt Maelstrom in revenge. Just like you can't stop me from doing the same. I stared into his face as emotions roiled over him, his fists clenching over and over as he tried to fight back his own instincts. Come out with me, I told him then, cutting off his inner battle with himself. Let me show you what I can do. That you don't have to be afraid. I want you to be part of my life, Junie, and I want to be part of yours. But you'll have to let me go make my own mistakes. Or my own glory. You can die. I can also die walking down the street, or be gunned down in the middle of a gangvar while driving down the freeway. I'm not gonna be safe if I hide June, but at least I can have some safety if I prove I have the ability to kill any gonk stupid enough to try. I kind of fluttered my legs a bit as I sat on the table wondering what else I could say. What else could I do to prove to June that I was able to walk in the same circles that he did? That just as he had done plenty of raids against Maelstrom, I could do that too. Tomorrow night, he said finally quietly. Kamikaze are going to hit a few Maelstrom dens, I will ask if they will allow you to come. If you prove to me you are capable after, I'll. Okay. I told him he didn't have to finish, he was struggling to let me go, which wasn't a surprise. June was pretty stubborn after all. So instead of any more tense conversations I pulled June into a big warm hug. Seriously gotta get that real skin, June, your arms are very unhuggable right now. Apparently the one in charge of the kamikaze approved of me joining them for an outing, although from the way June phrased it, it was less that I could come, and more that they simply didn't care if I died trying. Joke's on them. I have no intention of dying. Not until I've murdered every spider-eyed arsehole in this city. It was a shame. I liked spiders. Wait. If I killed all of them, that means I could take their symbol for myself, right? I'll become the Black Widow. Wait, I'm already Motoko. I muttered to myself as I finished loading my boya. My lovely perfect boya that I was never going anywhere without. That thought struck me and I realized I probably needed a shower gun now too. I'm sure I could put a Carnage in there. That thing doesn't care if it gets rusty. I nodded at that. Shower shotgun sounds perfect. Stupid Night City. I pulled her into my shoulder holster and stretched. It felt good to be back in my gear again. Even if the feel of the Lexington in my back holster wasn't quite the same as my Unity. I miss that gun. At least I still had my knife. I patted my hip where it rested. That thing had kept me alive in the pit. It was nice that one of the Borgs in Kamikaze had grabbed it while looting. Motoko. Juni. All set? I asked as I turned to him, noticing the weird look on his face. Oh, this is the first time June has seen my work clothes, huh? I asked him as I did a little pirouette that would make a ballerina nod at how good it was. Thank you, athletics. What are you wearing? Put a real jacket on and a shirt. Then without waiting he turns and walks out. Fucking jerk, I yelled back at him, utterly shocked at how instantly he had cut down my cute Motoko cosplay outfit. My outfit. I chased after him, and it was only as I entered the main room of the apartment that I caught the slight smirk on his face. Oh. June was being an asshole, big brother. Jerk. Idiot, I yelled at him as I made a move to brush past him. His arm wrapping me up in a hug, pulling me off my feet, stopped that. Then with the casualness of a big brother he walked me back to the bedroom and plopped me on the bed. I have something for you, he said after a moment as I glared at him for carrying me around. Just because he had stupid gorilla arms, and I wasn't heavy enough to stop him. It wasn't fair. What? I demanded a little petulantly, which probably didn't help my case of trying to get June to trust me as a professional, but he was being stupid. So there. I want you to be safe, he said simply as he headed into the closet in the bedroom, something I hadn't messed with. I honestly didn't think anything was actually in there. But there was, in fact. It was an armory. Ooh, goodies. I chirped, only to be denied instantly with an outstretched hand. My stuff. Don't touch, he said in that exact older sibling voice that told me I had probably snuck into his stuff too many times to count. Yeah, that's fair. I settled down as he went back in and pulled something out that I perked up at. It's my spare. Please do not ruin it. They are expensive. He tells me as he pulls out a fucking katana. Ooh man. I was gonna weeb these maelstroms to death. Wait, that sounds wrong. I shook that stupid thought out as I stood up and took the katana June was holding out for me. The same military style as the one he had. I popped it out of the sheath just an inch, seeing the incredibly sharp blade before nodding. Luckily it had a belt on the sheath, so after a moment I had it wrapped around my hips. I was starting to have a few too many straps on me, shoulder holster, rear holster and now sword belt. It's fine though. 'Cause it looked fucking badass. Thanks June. It's a thermal katana like you wanted. The button is on the side. Don't cut off a limb, or burn yourself. Or a building down. Better yet, just don't use it, he said, moving to take it away, which I promptly slapped his hand, and then he was mushing his hand into my face and I was kicking at his dumb stupid plastic abs. We finally broke away a few minutes later after June put me in a headlock, which I hip-tossed him over my shoulder for daring, and the loud thump as he almost crashed into the living room table startled us both. Truce, I demanded, and June huffed a quiet laugh before he agreed as we split up and straightened up. June had mussed my hair. The jerk. After a quick stop in the bathroom to reorder my hair, we both left the apartment down into the parking garage. There the rest of Kamikaze were already waiting. Although I noticed they weren't hanging around their own rides, or vehicles that looked like something the Tiger Claws would drive. Unmarked vans, and cars were idling waiting. Luckily we weren't the last to show up. June good, still waiting on a few stragglers. The Borg I had met in the Ripper dock said as June approached. This time the man wasn't heading into a Ripper. He was armed and armored up. The flak jacket he wore was actually open, showing off his chest, and holographic neon tattoos. I was pretty sure the jacket was less defense than the obvious subdermal armor, meaning it was more for looks than utility. Hi. Fujimura-sama. June offered with a bow. Ah, that was the Borg's name. Right, the doctor said that as well. The girl will be your responsibility, he added, nodding to me, and June simply bowed lower in agreement. I nodded to June. I wasn't about to cause any problems. We all had maelstrom to kill. The wait was mostly quiet. Most of the kamikaze were heavily gorged, and none of them seemed sociable. Mostly they just hung around, checked their gear, or stared into nothing. Yeah. This was definitely the psychos of the Tiger Claws. Damn it June, I wasn't going to let you fall prey to that. So we ended up settling in. June was driving another one of the inconspicuous cars and I was sitting in the back despite no one else in the car. Why do I have to sit back here? I called shotgun. I grumbled at my brother, who was starting to stare into nothing as time went by. So I was using sisterly petulance to distract him. Akari makes me drive. Don't bother her when she gets here, June replied with a tired sigh. But it was emotion. It wasn't that coolness that took over his voice at times. Finally, Akari suddenly uttered as she swung the passenger door open and flopped in. The woman looked more like a plastic robot than a human. She was even wearing a mask to hide away what little flesh there was left on her face. All bright red and white plastic. Despite knowing it was actually as strong as steel, it still made her look fragile. You're so slow, June-kun, making me wait. Well, let's go. Don't want to piss off Fujimura-sama any more than you already have, she said as she leaned back, arms behind her head. You are the one that is late, and the one Fujimura-sama is angry with Akari. Again. He offered as he started driving out of the garage following a few of the other vehicles. Although once out on the street everyone began driving in different directions. Sneaky. If everyone had a different route there was less chance of our whole cavalcade being spotted. That's just what you like to believe, June Akari offered, nodding her doll-like head before she turned around in her seat. How about that? You actually brought your little killer. Fujimura-sama allowed that? He did. Motoko is allowed to come today. As a test. She doesn't have the chrome to join Kamikaze. I'm not really planning on joining. June just needs reassurance. I know how to fight. I cut in. I wanted to make sure these crazy psychos didn't think I was one of them. That would be terrible if they thought I was as crazy as them. I was just here to murder people. Oh, she just needs to reassure her Unyai-shan, Akari teased as she looked to June despite getting his butt whooped. She did not whoop my butt. June muttered, but I wasn't going to pick a fight right now. So I let it pass even as Akari continued teasing June. I looked out the window instead, watching the city go by. My hands slowly opened and closed as I warmed up my joints. I was really looking forward to killing some Strom tonight, ripping them apart, and getting just an ounce of the payment they owed me back. The drive didn't take very long. Slowly we pulled into a garage, parking deep into the structure that already had a few of the other kamikazes' vehicles parked and empty. I followed June as he followed Akari, who led us around the structure. Akari was quiet and focused for once. June and I followed her lead. Although I wasn't going cool, I let my footsteps quiet until they practically disappeared. The parking garage connected to some sort of office building, or maybe they were apartments. It was hard to tell. I felt like the building changed its zoning with every few steps. Eventually we were let into a room on the north side of the building that was on the second floor. There a few of the kamikaze were preparing, armoring and fitting weapons into holsters as they prepared. I followed June as he seemed to lead me to the window and point out. I peeked out and there wasn't much to see, another building right next to us, and a dirty alley below. The place down the alleyway is a Strom armory, hauling loot they collected from raids there. We are here to clear them out and hold the place down long enough for everything to be taken back. June explained to me quietly as I looked down the alley. It was an old shop. Whatever it had once been was long gone. The place looked busted up. The Strom probably hadn't asked to take over the store. But if that was an armory? Motoko-like. Numbers? I asked and June just shrugged, which made me puff out a bit of air in irritation. Planning an assault without knowing the numbers they would be facing? Psychos. Of the non-cyber variety. Doesn't matter, Akari said as she walked up, her plastic face expressionless as her voice as she looked out the window with her glowing eyes. We will kill them. That's our job. Don't get in our way, little killer, she said, a sinister threat in her voice at the end. I noticed June straightening and moving to stand between us. How sweet. But unnecessary. I won't. I offered, simply turning back to the window for a second. We have anyone breaching their security already? We do. Stay out of it. I don't want a kid getting in my way of the dive. A voice full of static called out, and one of the kamikaze, one who I hadn't seen much of or spoken to yet, said. The man was just as gorged out as all of them, but he was also, I noticed, hooked into a few pieces of tech. It took me a few seconds of scanning to realize. It was all refrigeration units. The Borg had a portable ice bath for when he dived into the net. Understood, I agreed. Everyone was so snappy. But I guess that was just part of working with people one step into cyber psychosis. We have movement. Akari called out suddenly and everyone turned towards the window to peek. Cyber psycho or not, everyone was curious. We all watched a big box truck pull up, driver's window down, with a maelstrom smoking up a storm as he backed up to the front of the store. Good timing. A man's voice called out through the room, grabbing everyone's attention. Fujimura the Borg was there. Fujimura-sama. A few greetings came out from the group, June included. But most were quiet, lost in their own little worlds. Kamikaze. We strike now before they can unload the truck. Tomorrow make sure the driver can't escape. The rest of you. Strike, he roared as he charged straight forward, making me jerk and jump to the side along with June and Akari as he jumped straight through the window we had been looking out of. A moment later most of the group was gone. Some moving at incredible speeds, others simply bloodthirsty, ready to fight. June gave me a single look ensuring I was all right. Stay behind us. Before he followed out the window. Then I was left in the room alone with the netrunner, who was probably the furthest from me, if you counted awareness. You dicks. We are on the second floor. I cursed at them as I stuck my head out the now broken window, the sound of gunfire and screams already starting up. It took me half a second to find a way down and I backed up before leaping out. Parkour made the jump a fearless move. I leapt across to the opposite side of the alley, A fire escape easily grabbed onto, and then in a few seconds I was dropping down, catching the escape and then dropping to the floor. Then I was chasing after. The end of the alley faced the shop the maelstrom had taken, and I could see gunfire and death coming from within. The driver of the truck slumped over the wheel, a hole through the windshield. I ignored him and instead rushed forward into the now even more broken front window as gunfire came out in sharp notes from within. I slipped inside, feeling cool flow over me. My Kiroshi easily pierced the darkness and gave me sight inside. The kamikaze had definitely surprised the maelstrom, but this place was well defended. A turret was rotating around from the back of the store, the HMG placed inside it having shattered the kamikaze assault as everyone had jumped into cover. I sighed. This is why you found out the numbers before you rushed in. Thankfully a moment later, as I was running through ways to break the damn thing, I was surprised. Aghari disappeared from where she had been zipping forward, the HMG firing at her avoided by simply not being where the bullets landed as she surged forward, and then her blade cut through the HMG ending its threat. The maelstrom cursed at their now destroyed defense as weapons fire burst out towards Aghari, who was now much slower as she ducked and dodged trying to break line of sight. The kamikaze moved in response. Fujimura was first. The massive Borg rushed forward, smashing through a wall to take two maelstrom by surprise as he began beating them to a pulp by smashing them together. June was there, I noticed, his blade cutting out and leaving blood trails as he passed. The others were moving as well. I blinked before I realized it. They were stealing my XP. Fuck. I cursed as I jumped up, Boya quick drawn in an instant as my baby's retort echoed through the room. My Kiroshi had a maelstrom highlighted through a wall. The guy had a nasty-looking LMG that he was firing non-stop, filling the room with lead. Aiming at June, I fired once. Missed. Then twice. Then again, and again. I was already reloading even as my last round burst a hole through the wall. My new arms and recoil reduction meant I wasn't even in pain. Sure, it almost pushed me back a step with each shot, but recoil reduction already taught me exactly how to handle that. 500 XP gained. I frowned. The one I had targeted through the wall had only been a weakling. I jerked back just in time, catching a Borg rise up with a shotgun pointed at me, breaking the terrible concrete I was hiding behind into powder. A Boya makes a fair bit of noise. I guess even with kamikaze rushing in, I had got some attention. I finished reloading, my eyes already highlighted the gonk that had shot at me, and I was about to shoot when I stopped. June was there, cutting the guy in half. Then again. And again. Oh. June was mad. Stupid though. I jumped up and aimed. The maelstrom gonk that was aiming at my very angry idiot brother. A shot from my Boya ended the threat, even if it wasn't a great shot. I have been aiming for his chest, and instead hit him in the pelvis. He dropped with a cry as his legs stopped working. Another round into his prone body was all I needed. 500 XP gained. I looked around for another target, but everyone was dying, or dead. I tissed as I reloaded my Boya slowly as I slipped into the building, keeping an eye out for any movement as I started checking the dead as I walked up closer and closer to June, who was glaring furiously at the very dead lump of flesh that was the maelstrom idiot that shot at me. June, you with me? I asked as I stepped closer to him, my Boya still ready to fire in case of any surprises. I never left, he snapped a bit, but with a deep breath he swished his blade to clear it of blood and sheathed it. Preem. I offered calmly, no point poking June when he was being prickly. My loot senses were immediately active though. I made my way through the area, clearing all the corpses and checking in the side rooms and bathrooms just to make sure. Thankfully the store was clear, while Kamikaze went to work recovering. One of the other Borgs, a guy I hadn't spoken with, that carried around an axe, had been hit. A trail of white blood ran down his side. Looks like would survive, but he would need a trip to a Ripper. But I just poked around. The back of the shop was definitely an armory, plenty of weapons and equipment was laying around. My fingers wiggled. One of the first times since I got these new arms I felt fully in tune with my chrome. They wouldn't notice if a few pieces went into my pockets. I giggled a little as I reached out to grab a nice-looking Nekomata sniper rifle, something I didn't have in my arsenal as of yet. When the front door banged open, I jerked away like a kid caught with her hand in a cookie jar as I looked behind me and noticed a lot of Tiger Claw members saunter in. I sighed as they instantly went to the gear and started loading everything up into a few trucks that had pulled up. The Maelstrom truck was already on its way down the street as someone had jumped in, pushed the dead driver out and started it up. "Come on, Motoko. We are just keeping an eye out while everything is cleared out," June said as he walked up to me, as he noticed me looking around wondering what to do. Sure. I muttered a little irritated. This wasn't very fun. Sure, I got to flatline 2 gongs, but I barely got any XP, and it was already over. Killing the Raven had been more fun, even if murdering the Maelstrom warmed a little part of me that wanted to genocide the entire group. "You got 2, huh?" Aghari asked as she suddenly approached, her voice still holding that sinister coldness of someone not fully there. "Only 2. I confirmed, irritated. "I'm not used to working with a group like this." I was a little too slow. I added, grumbling as I berated myself while looking at all the corpses. "So much missed XP. Hey, there's always more." She offered, her voice almost musical despite being electronic. The sense of bloodlust was intense. "Stop fucking around. Eyes out." A rolling gravel voice interrupted Aghari's teasing as she stilled and pulled away from me to do just that. Fujimura, the Borg leader of Kamikaze, was glaring towards me. But well, it wasn't focused on me. Just in general. I did as he suggested, mostly because I could see how short the guy's fuse was. I followed June outside and we took in the empty street. The gunfire had done well to make sure everyone got away. "Be more careful," June demanded of me a moment after earning a blink as the non sequitur threw me for a loop. I was fine. Nothing even got close to hitting me. "You almost got shot," he retorted instantly, his body tense. Anxiety coloring his voice and body, he was practically pacing, unable to stop moving. "I don't want you doing this. You don't have enough chrome, or enough armor. After this, go back to the apartment. And hunker down. We can find something for you to do when I get home." No. I cut in, immediately turning to look up into his face. He was wearing an Oni mask around his jaw. The sharp, hungry grin didn't intimidate me though. "I already told you, June, I'm not just gonna sit at home." "I don't want you to just sit at home. But this is dangerous." "I know." I agree. I looked away from June, trying to keep my irritation at bay. I didn't want to turn this into a fight. I knew June was trying to protect me, trying to be the big brother, the parent really, that he wanted to be. But right now it was annoying. I gathered myself back up, idly stroking a thumb up along my chromed palm of my other hand. The irritation of everything was hitting me, making it hard to keep my own cool. I took a breath and activated cold blood, letting my emotions freeze, letting my mind attack the problem. I didn't get far. I turned back to June. He was not quite pacing, but obviously trying to figure out something to say to me, but it was the kamikaze netrunner whose name I still didn't know that broke in, calling all of us instantly. "Maelstrom assault incoming. We need to move." The call buzzed in and then ended. Instantly the tiger claws started running, quickly grabbing whatever they had on hand and disappearing it into the trucks, as they started driving off. "Let's move," Fujimura called out, and instantly the kamikaze started moving back through the alley. "Wait, that's it?" I asked June as I jogged to keep up with him as he followed. "Yeah. The Maelstrom assault will be more than we can handle, so we fade away. It's part of the plan. We poke them like this, steal what we can, weaken and kill, and fade away when they try to retaliate. Now that we have confirmation one of their big forces is coming here to wipe us out, another group will smash another location." He turned to look at me as we all reached a back door to the apartment complex we had first arrived in. Fujimura had already smashed the door open. "Come on, we need to leave before the Maelstrom arrive," June said as I started lagging behind. "No. You go," I told him, an idea forming in my mind. A terrible, perfect idea. My smile must have looked quite bloody as I pushed June through the door. "Go on, June, I'll be okay," I tell him, and I managed 2 steps before a pair of hands grabbed both of my biceps, pinned my arms to my sides and lifted me up. "No. We're leaving," June said with a growl as he quickly hooked me under his arm and jogged back into the building. "June, you are really killing my murder boner right now," I told him, purposefully making the situation as uncomfortable as I could in protest. But he ignored me, despite Aghari chuckling in her synthetic voice as she followed along. We made it to the car and I allowed June to stuff me in the back seat without too much protest as we peeled out, following the last of the kamikaze vehicles. I'm submitting an official complaint, I told him after he had slowed down and joined normal traffic. Denied, he retorted instantly. Murder blocking me is rude. I growled at him from the back seat as I pouted. I had wanted to sneak into one of the Maelstrom trucks and let them lead me to their base, then I would murder everyone. Know your limits, he snapped, June losing his temper as I could hear the steering wheel in his hands creak. Are you trying to get yourself killed? Are you trying to die? I would have been fine, I countered with every ounce of irritation leaking out only for June to bark out a laugh. Next time don't try to attack a full-on Maelstrom counter-hit squad, and I might believe you. I didn't argue again as June drove us back. It's fine. It just meant I really couldn't stick with June to go murder anyone. I would just have to go on my own.